Arguably, one of the hardest parts of actually running your own business is managing the money so you don't accidentally shoot yourself in the foot and end up living the last 3 days of the month off of ramen and prayers. But by the end of this, you'll know how to live decently well and on the lowest risk possible. It's odd and an unpopular piece of advice, but never quit your job to start a business. Like, ever. It's just a bad idea always. Even saving up for a couple of years to give it full effort is kind of a risky play. Like, really, get the social media stuff out of your head. You make way worse decisions when you're just completely panicky about money, and you'll end up trapping yourself with bad clients, bad habits, and bad practices just because you really need to get some money in through the door. And you can't afford anything else. You can't afford with anything else experimenting, trying to get some new feedback, or learning how to access newer, better people. And that applies whether you choose to be a freelancer or a business owner. With all that said and done, let's get into the nitty-gritty. And the first thing is that you can be blown away if someone breathes in your direction just a bit too hard. That's what actually running a small business is like. It means that you cannot afford to count on money that has not hit your bank account yet, no matter how many promises or flowery words that you may have heard from possible prospects and clients and all of that. Until the money hits in your account, you do not have it. Because otherwise you'll put yourself in a bad situation and have expenses that you cannot cover and end up have to borrow, or as we said, live off of ramen and prayers for the last 3 days just because you had to cut up on necessities. So what do we do about it? It all starts from the mind. Being able to recognize that risk, what do you think are some of the most instant measures that will come to your mind? If you're pretty risk averse, you'll think, okay, what needs to be happening so that I'm putting myself in the least possible chance to be in a bad situation? And since we're talking about money, that means cutting the costs of your own personal life and your own business expenses as much as possible without affecting the core actions that actually make the money. And that will obviously be different from one business to another, but any business will have some clear constants. How you acquire the leads, how you contact them, how you fulfill on the work. Those are the core actions. And say if you're running an online creative service business, that's gonna be your electricity, your internet, your actual device, whatever software that you use to actually fulfill the work. Everything aside of that is not going to be necessary as much as it may feel like so. It's not going to be the fancy pair of headphones, the fancy chair, the tasty drinks, or whatever else. Even if some of those may be really good, nice to haves and may actually affect your work significantly, like coffee. Which applies to our next point actually, because the line between personal needs and wants can actually get blurred pretty easily. So we need some kind of certain way to make that dividing line. And the criteria for needs become clear. If you take one of them out, you literally physically cannot make money. Like internet, electricity, food, the subscription to your payment processor that actually sends the money through to your bank account, those things. Your wants are the things that may help with the process of working, but they don't prevent it if you don't have them. Maybe it's a little less enjoyable without them, but your output doesn't change much. And the greater of an effect that they do have on your work, the more that they can be compromised on. So coffee is a popular one. Instead of getting it from a shop that actually makes it for you, you just get the ingredients and you make it at home. And some of the more unclear ones would be like a good office chair, because without it, in my experience, I couldn't work for more than 2-3 hours at a time-ish. That's such a massive short-king advantage. You can work on a stool and a pillow and you'll be fine. Now when you total that number up, you'll get your floor, the minimum amount that you need to get going, and also the number that will help inform your business strategy to an extent. What do I mean by that? Opportunity risk, that's the name of the game. Do you fill up your schedule with low paying but reliable clients so you can just keep the lights on, or do you cut it to a razor thin basis so you can spend every additional second trying out new different strategies to outreach to better clients, but inevitably things that will give you zero money in the short term? A lot of the times that's the trade-off that you tend to need to make. Hey, I'm doing it right now, don't get me wrong, I love all four of you that are watching. But in the grand scheme of things, if I had to divide the amount of money I made by the amount of videos that I have produced out so far, it's something like 23 cents per video. But the goal of them is to build an online presence and sharpen my content skills, even if I'm not hitting my maximum financial potential at the moment. Even if also half of my time and energy is going into this, but it's a necessary thing. Now, I'm sure you don't want to live like a monk for the rest of your life, so when your business inevitably picks up, which I'm rooting for you, what then? Well, again, relying on the same principle, the idea here is to minimize risk as much as possible, and we cannot pull an income out that our business can't healthily support yet. So when do you measure if, yeah, it's a good time now, or no, it is not? There's a book that discusses this lightly called Profit First, but since it goes on in ranges from like $0 to 10 million plus, which is actually kind of, far from our experience level here, I'm trying to give you stuff from the ground level where I'm at. You can do it in the fairly relaxed way of averaging out your last 3 months or so of revenue and checking if the percentage of that number that you take as take home pay is higher than the amount that you've taken or are taking currently. If so, then it's a good indicator to see if you can raise it a bit. And then you can just add more months in order to get more conservative about it. So instead of 3 months, it's going to be 6 months or 9 months or a full year, a rolling average from where you are right now. A more risk-averse way is to look at your worst month in the last year and take that as the waterline, that whatever percentage of that is your normal take-home pay, you make do with it and just live off of that somehow. And the most stringent of them all is to take whatever number that came out with, even if it's like something like $1,000 a month. It's actually pretty feasible depending on where you live, but that's a side point. And then you do 80% of that, so your normal take-home monthly pay is $800. Figure it out. Now, obviously, this just may be impossible for your current situation, but the more conservative that you can go with it, the better, in my opinion. A common thing that you'll find is that how good you are with your personal money will affect how good that you are with your business money. It's the same thing, it's just under different names and entities. So if you have really bad personal money habits, then you should really nail those down because they will seep in eventually. And so with this, I hope it helped you out. Now, you don't need to do this forever, and you also don't need to spend more just because you make more. But it's just a nice guideline to have. And so with that, remember, if you're not struggling, you're not growing. And bye.